All right. Appears we're back on schedule now. That wasn't too rough.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff. This is 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. It's 11:05, and every week at the same time we have Sheriff Derek Palmer, or someone from the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. I think I called you Sheriff. I was trying to combine Sheriff and Cherokee.
That's all right.
We'll just start.
I've been called worse.
We'll start calling you Sheriff from now on.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Well, it's good to be here today.
Well, welcome back, and you've had a pretty exciting, busy week, and
I have.
Hopefully a little
And
relaxation
it's
in
spring
between
break
there.
week and Easter week, and I'm still stuffy. I can't get over this stuff. It's about going on 2 weeks now, almost 3,
2 weeks now.
and still can't get my breath. And
Still coughing.
yeah, I've had antibiotics and shots and inhalers and everything else, and it's still hanging on. It won't let go.
Well, hopefully this nice weather will make you just.
I hope so. I
Fill
think
up.
when I leave here today, I'm going to go home and plant some potatoes and cabbage and stuff. So maybe getting out in the hot weather today in the sun,
All right.
kind of knock it out.
Very good.
Yeah, we'll kill it one way or another, won't we?
We will. Well, Easter weekend is coming up this weekend. Today is Good Friday, and we appreciate
It
your
is.
coming here on a Good Friday and talking with our listeners. They certainly do appreciate that.
Easter, I think, is my favorite holiday. I really do. I think for a Christian, that there's no other holiday like Easter. That's what our Christianity is based upon. You know, the risen Savior, and I think I enjoy Easter probably more than any other holiday that's out there. It's just something special about it.
I know we play the songs that we play, and so many of them just tell the story of Easter. And I was telling people just listen for the story of Easter through song here on
Right.
the radio station, and so many just are great. I guess recapturing or just make people appreciate
Right.
what it's all about.
I think it's so neat on the Easter weekend. You know, a lot of times we just celebrate on Sunday morning and don't give a whole lot of thought about it. But I think it's really neat to think about what happened Thursday night all the way through Sunday, from the Last Supper of the disciples all the way through the being taken in front of Pilate and Herod and being brought into the courts there, you know, and being tried and going through the crucifixion and all that, and the death and burial and resurrection. There's just so much happened in about 3 days there. It's just it's unreal to think about how much was packed into that weekend.
It was, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so interesting to me, is just going back and just analyzing it and thinking about it, all the different things that happened there. But I wish everybody a happy Easter, and it's supposed to be pretty this weekend, it looks like. I think the rain's moved off to Monday, and so
Upper 70s.
yeah, so we're it's going to be a great weekend. Get out and enjoy yourself and spend time with your family, and we just like I say, I just enjoy it. I'm just excited about Easter.
What days does the Sheriff's Office Administrative Office, does it close?
Today.
Today is
Yeah.
closed? Okay.
Yeah, it's closed for Good Friday, and we'll be back at it on Monday. So
There's a lot of businesses closed today.
There
I've
is.
noticed,
yeah. Yeah, there he is. I went through town a while ago. Actually, I think I'm the reason that Tim's off this morning. I came in a little early. I usually slide in here right about the time for the radio program to start. And
11:04 and 59 seconds.
I'm
kidding.
Sat down. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. Yeah.
We'll
But-
figure it out. We're never at a loss of words.
No, we're not. But I came in about 10 minutes early today and just sat down. We just sitting here talking, and I think it's kind of what threw Tim off. He was not used to having to carry on a conversation and do his stuff too. So I apologize for that. But
I was pushing wrong. I've been pushing wrong buttons all morning. It's a Friday, which is kind of my Monday.
right.
Yeah. So I have that weekend between Sunday through Thursday.
Right.
That's what people think, but yeah, a lot going on. It is the Easter weekend, and we have a couple of things to talk about today, which is hopefully we'll get them all in today. One, you want to talk about the return of the Purple Heart.
Yeah, if anybody read the Cherokee Scout this week, there was an article in there about a Purple Heart that was returned to a family. It's really interesting. A lot of people's asked me about that. We have our evidence custodian. His name's Chris Foster. He's a deputy that we hired a while back, and he is cleaning up and stuff there around the evidence room and some different storage areas there at the sheriff's office. And he was throwing some stuff away one day and picked up an empty box and was getting ready to throw it in the trash can, and something slid in the bottom of it. And he thought it was maybe a quarter or something in it. So he unfolded the leaves of the box, and when he looked down in there, there was this Purple Heart that was in the bottom of this box, it didn't have a ribbon, didn't have anything. It was just the heart itself. And all it had on it was the name of Joseph Dills. And he brought it to my office, and he said, I found this, and he said, we really need to try to figure out what we can do to get it back to the family. He said, but I don't know where to start with this. And he said, I don't even know how it got here or why it's even here or anything. He said, but, you think there's anything we can do with it? So he left it there in my office, and I picked up the phone, called Jane Griggs over at the VA office, and talked to her just a little bit about it. And I subsequently took it over to her. And she done a little research on the name and contacted some veterans groups here in Cherokee County and had kind of an informal search done for family here. And the Dills family up and around the Nantahala area was located, and they knew who this Joseph Dills was. And he was a World War II veteran that was killed in World War II. And some of the family still lived here. And so there was a conversation ensued out of that, and so we found the rightful owner of the descendant of the Purple Heart, but we didn't want to just take it to him and hand it to him. So with the VFW and with some different veterans groups and with the Veterans Administration Office, they were able to obtain a new ribbon for it and a shadow box to put it in. And actually on the back of the box, they put Private Dills' war record and where the theater they served in and the situation there that cost him his life, that he received the Purple Heart, and just a little outline on that. And so last week we had a ceremony basically where we presented the Purple Heart back to the family at the VFW in Andrews, and several of their family members, people that knew him, some nieces and nephews and different people, and with the family attended that ceremony. And so it was just kind of a presentation to put that Purple Heart back in the home of the family of where it came from. And we want to take just a little bit of time like that to just to honor our veterans and honor the people who sacrificed. And we don't know how it got there. We don't know where it come from. Probably it might have been included with some stolen property that was recovered at some point in time of a home being broken into or something like that. But we don't know, like I say, where it come from. It was just in a box and piled up and stuff and in a storage building. But we were proud to get that back to the family and present it back to them. And,
I know that meant the world to that family.
It did. And there was actually a family member there that would, as a child, remembered holding that Purple Heart.
Really?
And was the only one of the family that ever knew of that touched it. But it was a touching moment, and it was sentimental to the family to get it back to them, and we're just glad that we could do something to help to get that back to the family.
Well, that speaks well of your office to care enough about that family to get that back into their hands.
Yeah, and like I say, people say, well, that was 1944. That was many years ago. What's the big deal about it? But to family who lost loved ones, it's a huge deal. Oh, yeah. Just to get those things back and to let them know that you still think about them and you still care about their family.
It never hurts to show someone respect who has served in our military.
That is right. Our freedom is not free. It cost a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and limbs and lives and everything else for us to even be sitting here in the radio studio today, just talking about church and talking about things in the sheriff's office and just having a free conversation here. A lot of people give their lives just so we have that ability to do that. And we take that for granted a lot of times. And we just assume that's the way it is all over the world, and it's not that way all over the world. That people sacrificed and give themselves so that we could have that freedom, and we need to show a little respect back to them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
That was a great story.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate that. All right. There was a situation, I think, on Sunday that we want to touch on a little bit. We posted the press release from the Murphy Police Department on our website. You got a lot of attention there, and it happened over at Bill Circle. Standoff hostage type situation. Right. Can you kind of give listeners who may not have read the press release what basically happened there?
Well, like I say, this was a Murphy Police Department call, but we assisted Murphy with that, and we had a suspect over there who was mentally unstable, and had threatened some family members, I think, with an edged weapon. And by the time the law enforcement had gotten there, he had barricaded himself inside the residence with a handgun. To make a long story short, there were some negotiations trying to get him to come out and to give himself up, and he had some other family members in there that he wouldn't let leave, wouldn't let them leave the residence, was kind of holding them hostage. And when we got to the end of the situation, he came outside the house with the gun in his hand. Mm-hmm. The officers noticed that there was an orange ring at the barrel of the gun, and so immediately the officers assumed it was a toy weapon. And did not engage as far as firearms with him, didn't exchange a shootout or anything like that, but was assuming that it was a toy weapon. Subsequently, he laid the gun down, was able to get subdued and arrested. But when they went back to that weapon, they found out that it was a cap gun. It was one of the clear plastic see-through cap guns, mm-hmm. but he had taken black tape and wrapped it all around to make it black. But what was interesting about this, that he had modified that to where it would fit .22 caliber bullets. In the hammer that on the cap gun, he had a piece of metal on that, and with a rubber band that he could pull it back, and as it would hit the .22 caliber shell, it would actually fire the shell. So it was an actual weapon. It was an actual firearm. What's important about that, and what we want to let that know, is that so many times on the news you see officers involved in shootings where there was toy weapons and toy guns involved, and people say, well, you don't understand, that was just a toy. Why'd you shoot somebody because they had a toy in their hand? But with being able to modify these weapons and all these different things that's out there and the way they're creative and making weapons, we can't just assume that something's a toy and that it's not dangerous.
Right.
If someone presents something as a firearm and says it's a firearm and says they're going to kill you with it, we just have to take it at face value. Right. That's what it is. I commend the officers very highly, both Murphy Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, for not firing upon him and not taking his life that day. I mean, they would have been justifiable if they had have. But it's one of those things that, officers have to use that discretion and have to figure out how we can do this as safely as possible and how we can get people under arrest. A lot of people don't realize this either, but if you take, you can Google these things, look on the internet. You can take some of these replica pellet guns and lay them side by side to a real firearm. You can't tell the difference even by looking at them in a lot of these things. And so these officers are having to make split-second decisions, and they're having to make decisions and that could affect their life, or affect the lives of someone else, and affect the lives of their families in just split seconds. And it's easy to go back and to slow-mo things and replay it and watch it over and over again and know what the outcome's going to be before you watch it and make those judgments. But those officers that's on scene, they don't know what the outcome's going to be. They don't know what that person's going to do. They don't know what's going to happen.
They can't watch replay while it's live.
That's it, and they can't rewind it and play it back, and so they have to make those decisions right there as it's going on. And so we just want to commend both Murphy Police Department and the Sheriff's Office of making good, sound decisions and being respectful for people's lives, and there's lots of times in my career and careers of police officers that we could say that we were justified in taking someone's life. But just because you can, that doesn't necessarily mean you should sometimes. And so we commend the officers for making those decisions.
Has it been determined, or can you even say what happened that escalated a situation to a hostage standoff situation? What happened to make it that level?
I can't with 100% certainty, because, like I say, it's not our investigation. Mm-hmm. It's Murphy Police Department's investigation. But typically on these type of things, you see things like drug involvement. You see mental instabilities, mm-hmm. A lot of those type of things. And I know this particular person, we've dealt with him many, many times in the past, and many violent times in the past. I think Chief Jacobs released in the press release, he'd been arrested, I think, 42 times or something of that nature before. So we have dealt with this person before. And
he's a young fellow too.
Young guy. And there's just some people, because of drugs and because of mental issues and because of other things that are out there, they're just volatile people, and sometimes that doesn't take much for it to escalate into those situations.
All right. Well, moving on, we've been seeing promotion of the solar eclipse, and a lot of people are excited
Right.
because of all the tourist activities and money to be made and just different things. But when it comes from a law enforcement perspective, dealing with large crowds can be a little complicated.
It can, and the thing about it is, it's kind of like anytime anything happens where there's crowds and there's people coming, it makes law enforcement uneasy. It makes us nervous, and
Especially since you don't know these people at all.
Right.
And that's the situation our county's become now. Plus, with new outsiders coming in just for a short time, that has to be a little unnerving.
it is. And people from when you have an event like this taking place, for those of you that may not know, it's on August 21st of this year. We're expecting the total solar eclipse. We are right in the middle of the eclipse path, and we should experience darkness about 2:30 on August 21st. About 2:30 that evening, we should experience total darkness of about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or 2 minutes 40 seconds at the most. And people all over the world are going to come to this area to view it. The eclipse path starts in, I think, Washington State, and goes all the way across the United States and ends up somewhere between Myrtle Beach and Charleston down in South Carolina, in between the two cities. So the path goes all the way across the United States, but the actual total darkness path is, probably less than 50 miles wide, I guess. It covers most of Cherokee County, not all of Cherokee County, but most of it. And so you got about a 50-mile swath all the way across the United States. But for whatever reason, people are saying that our area, the Southeast, the East Tennessee, North Georgia, Western North Carolina, is the prime viewing area for this eclipse, and in the entire United States. So a lot of people are going to come to this area. Like I say, that brings worry to us just for traffic issues and traffic flows. Anybody that was around for the opening day of the casino understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that situation, traffic was backed
It
up.
was crazy, and we don't know that it will be that. We don't know that that's what's going to happen,
But you're
because
preparing.
we're preparing for that. For something like this happens about every 150 years to 200 years, and with something with that distance between, you really don't know what to expect. You don't
Right.
know what's going to happen. So we're kind of preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. But we do know that all across the area, from Graham County to Hayesville and in Clay County and some of the peak viewing places, I know Airport Strait is the exact center of the path between Marble and Andrews. So I know that Airport Strait area will be packed with people.
Oh, wow.
You know that it's one of those things that we just have to prepare for the influx of people coming in, and
people-
hope that it's not as bad as we're thinking it might be.
You're telling me that people will drive all over the country to be part of this.
Right.
And for 2 minutes and 30, 40 seconds
Right.
of complete darkness, and people follow this on websites. And
We actually we Googled some of the websites, and there's a name for these people. I can't remember what it is, but there are actually groups, hundreds, thousands of people that follow these eclipses all over the world. They fly all over the world to
Wow.
to be a part of it and to be there. So it's kind of like a snow event. We always tell people, please stay home, don't come out. But we all know that when something exciting is going on or whatever, people want to be out and be with other people. And I do know on that day that it's going to be on a Monday, and I do know that weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that Monday, that there's going to be different events in the parks. And Murphy will be hosting a Conahita Park event. I think Andrews is going to be hosting an event. And so there'll just be different things going around throughout the county. So we just want to just encourage people, if you can, just if traffic is really bad and as bad as they expect it to be, just let's try not to contribute to it. Let's just stay home and view it from our front porch.
this is going to affect a lot of things, such as lodging in the area. Restaurants are probably going to be overcrowded.
Right.
How we go to another city and have a 45-minute wait, that could happen here
Right.
if there's that many people here.
Yeah, the people that's coming to the area, what we got to also consider too, people that's going to, say, Graham County, the Cherahela, that may be going to Bell Mountain and Hayesville or Young Harris or some of those places, to view this thing. A lot of those people are coming through our area. So
Right.
we'll have a lot of people in the area that this may not be their destination, but they'll be coming through. From talking to the Chamber of Commerce and realtors, we do know that all the rental properties are booked up already for that weekend.
Wow.
All the hotels, all of the rental houses, rental properties are booked, and people are still calling and inquiring for booking, trying to find things. So, we're in addition to the people coming here to stay for the weekend, you'll have a lot of people that'll drive up for the event and drive back, as far as like North Georgia, East Tennessee, Alabama, maybe.
You gave me a number earlier, I think, off the air about the people expected at the Cherahela Skyway.
Yeah, there was a number that was thrown out, and I'm not sure if it's an accurate number or where the number came from. But someone said in a meeting one day a couple of weeks ago that there was expected people of about 30,000 people wanting to come to the Cherahela Skyway to view it from just the Skyway. And so if you think about 30,000 people going to the Skyway, that's more than our population of Cherokee County.
Right.
So, like I say, I don't know if that's an accurate number. I don't know where that number came from. But if that is the case, we're going to be looking at extreme crowded for the weekend, and so it's a logistical nightmare for us and in EMS and fire, as far as trying to get emergency vehicles to places. Anytime you have that kind of people in the area, you'll have other altercations. You'll have people fussing and fighting with each other. You'll have
Right.
thefts and drunken disorderlies and all kind of different things that's going on. And so just getting patrol cars from one area to another could be a logistical nightmare. So we're looking at alternative ways of trying to prepare for that, and we'll just be evaluating that as it gets closer. And as Friday that weekend starts, myself and the chiefs will be monitoring the situation and trying to see kind of what kind of manpower and personnel we'll need for the weekend. We are preparing at the sheriff's office, though, for the weekend of basically working everybody we have if we need to.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are going to, if it gets as bad as they expect it to get, we'll try to have deputies scattered out throughout the county in different neighborhoods, different communities, basically just stationed in these communities throughout the county, so that we don't have to try to respond to a community, but that we'll already have somebody there. So,
And with a lot of things, there's good and bad. And we mentioned earlier, it's going to be great for local businesses. There's going to be a
Right.
lot of money traveling through the area and spending with our local merchants and keeping the mom and pop stores open and things like that.
Yeah.
But again, it does create some
it does, and
infrastructure
for law
problems.
enforcement and being the sheriff, the head law enforcement official for the county, you have to think about things that other people don't want to think about, and one of the things that we have to think about, and I talked to some of the chiefs and assistant chiefs the other day about this problem, was the fact of, when you think about bringing that amount of people into one area, all across the United States, then you have to think about things like terrorist activities. You have to think about mass shootings. You have to think about emergency responses to situations. You have to think about what additional manpower and resources you might need. And something that even things that's not law enforcement, but from a county perspective, we have to think about. Let's just say Airport Strait, for example. Let's say from Murphy to Andrews that the sides of the 4 lanes are covered and people's parked everywhere and the medians are full and the 4 lanes full. Simple things about where people are going to go to the restroom, where you're going to get water. It's going to be hot that day probably. So make sure people don't get dehydrated, making sure people don't have medical emergencies and being out in the hot sun all day long. So there's all kind of different things that we have to plan for and prepare for that the average person don't think about. And like I say, I'm not downing them because everybody's doing their job and what they're supposed to do. But when you have people like, Tri-County and the Chamber of Commerce and all these people that's from the touristic side of it, trying to get tourists and bring in business, I mean, they're doing what they need to do. But they're from the perspective, we want to get as many people as we can to come. and law enforcement and EMS and fire, from our perspective, is we want to get as many people as we can stay away. So,
Right.
you know,
What did you we touched on the that day that the casino opened. I think it opened like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It was pretty close to when the school was letting
Right.
out, so we were trying to get buses home.
Right.
And the traffic was backed up from the casino entrance all the way up, I think, past McDonald's.
Right.
That was something that we'd never seen before.
it is. And well, one of the things, we started taking some proactive stance to this too. In the school system, for example, on August 21st, that is supposed to be the opening day of school. And so what the school system has done is, because of the event, they've delayed the opening of school. So we won't have to contend with buses and contend with trying to get children home and all those type of things. So
There's a lot of traffic just for the school
Right.
system, with parents picking up their kids in the buses.
Right. So, and that's one of the problems with the casino, because that was about that 2:30 time frame, and that's about what time the eclipse is supposed to happen. And the problem with opening the casino was not just the people coming to the casino, but where there were buses running and trying to get kids home, and dismissal from school and parents picking up kids and all that during that time period also. And so that's that we're trying to be more proactive and trying to think about this ahead of time and say, what kind of precautions do we need to take? And so we're just kind of, like I say, we don't know what to expect. It may be nothing, you know. It may come August 21st and there not be more than just a heavy traffic weekend, you know. But we have to kind of prepare for the worst and prepare for the bad things to happen, and just hope that they don't.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we close out our program?
No, just happy Easter to everybody, and remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. So let's celebrate Him this weekend.
Absolutely. By the way, you made it through the whole show without coughing. And,
I did.
And here I coughed right at the very end. All right. Sheriff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll do this again, same time, same place next week, right here on WKRK in Murphy, North Carolina.